said the results and quality of the election will not be immediately evident, and the United States will support the Afghan independent electoral institutions as they do their work in the coming weeks, including carrying out thorough measures to detect and adjudicate fraud. Now, for his perspective, I'm joined by Larry Korb. He's a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress here in Washington, and he was also Assistant Secretary of Defense under Ronald Reagan. Mr. Korb, thank you for joining us.
Nice to be with you.
I just want to get back to that statement that I just read from the United States Embassy. It's somewhat of a tepid response, which doesn't show a really ringing endorsement of the manner in which this election was carried out.
Well, it's not just the manner, it's the amount of people that came out. I mean, you had less than half the eligible voters come out, but most important, 1 million less than last year in the presidential election. And it's not just because of the fear of the Taliban, but I think it's a concern about, well, if we put these people into office, you know, are they the type of people that we want? So why should we risk our lives?
Why are these elections so important for U.S. policy towards Afghanistan?
Well, I think they're very critical because Americans are fighting and dying, spend an awful lot of money to get a government in Afghanistan that will not harbor the Taliban and will not destabilize the region and will protect the rights of its people. And this election shows that we're not going in the right way. Compared to a year ago, we have 3 times as many troops, and yet you have less people turning out. The Taliban seem to be controlling more. And I think the patience of the American people, given how long we've been there, is beginning to wear thin.
So it's going to be a bit of an uphill climb, would you say, for the U.S. administration to sell this to the American people who are growing weary of this war as we know it?
Well, I think very definitely, because if you look at the number of people who supported right after the attacks of 9/11, when we went in to Afghanistan to get the havens for Al-Qaeda, the overwhelming support. It's gone down precipitously every year since. And the great tragedy is we had it won, we diverted our attention to Iraq, and now the question is it too late really to get the outcome that we would like?
We just heard there from an Afghan diplomat as well who's based here in Washington, and he seemed to think that 40% was actually a very good number. Also seemed to think that in an area which is effectively a war zone, that the state of the manner in which the elections were conducted was acceptable. How would you evaluate the process?
Well, I think, again, we'd have to wait and see. But some of what we've already seen already, one member of the, Independent Electoral Commission was found, with ballots themselves, 1,500 fake ballots. They were closing the doors, and counting, so people couldn't see what was happening. So it's understandable why they might say that. But the fact of the matter is that you have low turnout, I think you're going to see more fraud probably than will be acceptable.
So they are going to have problems actually trying to sell this election as being legitimate.
Well, I think sell it to the American people that it's worth fighting and dying for and continuing to spend large amounts of money because of the fact that there is not a government that enjoys widespread support among the people and is not seen as corrupt by the people.
Well, it's one point you mentioned there where people, of course, would ask themselves in Afghanistan, why should I risk my life to go out and vote for a government or give legitimacy to what I believe to be is a corrupt government? Was that the only reason? Surely security played.
Oh, no, I'm sure security played a part. But, again, what we're talking about here, you had 40% of the people voted, but it's 1 million less than last year. A year ago, you had 4.6 million. Now it's only 3.6 million. So that means it's going in the wrong direction, despite the tripling of the American forces on the ground.
Okay, Mr. Korb, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And we'll have more on the elections in Afghanistan during this hour of news, including in a country where male and female polling stations are separated, was enough done to ensure female voters could cast their ballots?